Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Harsh Parashar, or UPSC CSE 2022, All India Rank 143. Uh, this is YouTube live session for UPSC aspirants who might be preparing before or for 2024. And this is on UPSCTIME, which is organizing this session for live interaction. Uh, I'm very sorry for the 15 minutes delay. I did not know how to go live. This is my first streaming on YouTube live, and that's why the delay. I really apologize for it. Uh, I see that there is somebody from Scottish Public School. Hi. I was gonna start with that. So my name is Harsh Parashar. You can find me on Instagram with Harsh underscore Parashar underscore IRS. Parashar is spelled with Parashar. I also have a website, parasharharsh.in, Parasharharsh.in. It currently redirects to my wife's WordPress, where both of us collaborate on putting blogs and articles about my UPSC preparation, her take on my UPSC preparation, and so on. So, what I have thought to do in this session is first start with my own introduction, a brief background on where I come from and my UPSC journey. Then I will take a few questions on preparation style. This will mostly include questions on motivation, whether to study newspaper, whether to focus on magazines, how to make notes, online and offline preparation. And then in the next part, I will go section wise, which is I'll first try to do what my idea of prelims preparation was, then essay and GS preparation about optional, how to choose the right optional, and lastly on interview. The mark sheets are out, and so I have a brief idea of what I did good in this attempt and what I where I went wrong. So for the first part about my introduction, I am from Katihar, Bihar, and I did my schooling from there only, from Scottish Public School, as somebody has mentioned. Uh, I did my graduation from IIT Kharagpur. I did engineering in electronics and electrical communication engineering. Uh, from there, I got a placement at Deloitte Consulting as a data scientist. There, I worked for around 1.5 years. Then I took a leave for around 9 months, and I went back to my hometown and I prepared there. I mostly focused on the basic books that are outlined, and I finished that in around 9-10 months. Then I joined at a different place, Zivanta Analytics, where also I was working as a data scientist, and that continued for uh, roughly roughly 2 years. So this was started in 2019 September, and I worked there till June 2021. I gave my 2020 attempt while working at Zivanta, and before the results were declared, right after the interview, I joined McKinsey, uh, McKinsey, McKinsey Consulting, again as a data scientist. So I worked for roughly 4 years, and my preparation and my uh, work profile, both of them continued together. Uh, about my UPSC journey, my first attempt I gave in 2018 January. I started my preparation in 2018 January, but it was not a serious preparation. I was only looking at why is there so much craze for this particular exam. I gave the 2018 attempt prelims. It was not too without any preparation. I just went there and thought, let's see how good my uh, general knowledge is, because that was the perception that UPSC preparation means how good your general knowledge is. Uh, Of course, I failed there, but I got decent marks for zero preparation. I got around 84. Somehow, all my tukka they came out to be right. Uh, in 2000, in the next attempt, which was in 2019, I prepared very well. Those 9 months I worked very hard. It was 6 months before I left the job, so 6 months for prelims preparation. But there also I failed miserably, and even though I had worked very hard, I was only able to improve 8 marks in my prelims. So that was kind of disheartening. But I made up my mind that I want to give more attempts and I want to uh, go all the way, write all the attempts if need be. And this was where I started with the long term vision. So far in 2019 attempt before prelims, I was thinking that this is a 1 year affair. I'll just finish it in one go and get my place among the elites, and then uh, everything will fall into place. But it did not happen, and I thought that all the 6 attempts, if I have to do so, I'll start preparing in a way that what I'm studying now, somehow that will still be relevant in the final attempt that I'll give. Uh, Somebody has been asking me about to mention the name of book list for prelims and mains. I will do that in due time. Uh, while I'll focus on the preparation style, I'll mention book list. I did not read anything special, but I'll take that. Uh, then in my third attempt, which was in 2020, I had kind of thought that this is getting too long because the COVID delays had happened, and I was kind of the COVID impacted me personally because I was working from home. I and my wife Prachi, both of us were staying together, and it was very hectic doing all the household chores and the work and to prepare with it as well. So I thought that I'll take a break in 2021. Luckily, I got selected. I was allotted IRS, Customs and Indirect Taxes, which was my third choice. My first choice was Indian Foreign Service, second was Indian Administrative Service, and third one was IRS, Customs and Indirect Taxes. For personal reasons, I did not, because of personal preferences, I did not put IPS, which is Indian Police Service, above Indian Revenue Service, which was the general trend that year. Uh, for a lot of people have asked me about coaching, so I want to make clear I did not join any coaching at any point of time at all. Thank you, Ms. Prachi Chaudhary. I did not join any coaching at all. I did entirely. I depended on self study. In my 2018 attempt, I gave that without any preparation, so no question of coaching. In 2019 attempt, I had joined one test series for prelims, but that was a very poor level test series by Jules. I have to take the name because it was really below uh, my expectations, what I had thought. Then in the next attempt, which was in 2020, I had joined for prelims. I had joined Insights question test series, which I did not find to be very nice. Again, but I also wrote. I did not buy these exams, but I downloaded them and I attempted them. These included Shankar IS. They had put out test 10 papers out in the public. Uh, then I attempted the 35 questions from Vision IAS. This was for prelims. For mains, I had written uh, 8 question paper by uh, yeah, IS Baba, and then I also attempted Abhyas. For interview, I gave around 14 interviews, which was really a lot. But at any point of time, I did not attempt. For 2022 attempt, I did not uh, even join any test series. All the test series, all I focused on 2022 attempt was previous year question papers, both for prelims and mains. I gave Abhyas and the open mock test, but not the long term test series. So this is about coaching, my interaction with coaching. Uh, the next questions I am seeing are about the book list. Okay, let's move with the book list first. Uh, I did not make any particular distinction between prelims and GS. So in prelims, the matter that I was collecting was the one that I also used in my GS papers. Now, for me, it does not really matter what books I have read. The books I read was mostly to build up my own ideas. I was not able to use anything I read from these books directly into the exam. For example, if I have to understand about India's constitutional design, so I would read NCERT class 11th. Let I have a book list. Let me just open that up and I'll read that down. While I am doing this, a word of caution here that it's not really important which books you're reading. The books do not really make a difference because more or less everybody is going to read through the same books. What really, to a large extent, makes a difference is how well you have understood what you're reading. So, that being said, for art and culture, I've read NIOS Indian Art and Culture. This is a very easy book, but that it's a very lengthy book too. And you anything that is taught in this does not really come handy later. So I read this to create an understanding of art and culture. NCRT Class 11 Fine Arts, I read that. It's a very difficult to read book, but once you have read NIOS, it becomes easier. So NCRT Class 11 Fine Arts is still better. Then there is a website called CCRT. I went there and I browsed through some of their pieces on different art forms and everything. And then I made fine small notes about them. For art and culture, it's really difficult to cover it with books. So what I focused was to solve previous year question papers on art and culture, and also the available uh, the available test series, say by Vision IS, their art and culture material, and to note it down. Uh, you'll notice that every year Buddhism questions are asked and they are very scoring. You should not get them wrong. Once you have gone through those books, you will be able to answer broad level Buddhism questions. But the questions asked in UPSC are very fine leveled. So to have that, you'll need to Google out things. Then I also went to A Wonder That Was India by A.L. Basham. All the books that I have mentioned. A.L. Basham was the one that had the level of knowledge that could actually be used in the UPSC exam. Uh, Selective reading you have to do. You'll find there is a Vision IS video by some ma'am. I don't know her name, but she's very good, and it's a very old video. I think 4 or 5, I think 3 or 4 years back. uh, while I was undergoing depression after my 2019 attempt, there she had mentioned that you can read these books from A Wonder That Was India. So you can go there. uh, the next one is ancient history. I did RS Sharma. I gave that one fine reading, but selective because it's very long book. Not all of it is useful, but recently it is becoming more useful. For medieval history, I read NCRT Themes in Indian History too, and Satish Chandra Medieval India. Again, Satish Chandra was very. Uh, I skimmed through that book. I did not read that end to end. But NCRT Themes in Indian History, I realized that a lot of questions had been asked on it, especially from the boxes. So I did that. Then in modern history, I had read Bipin Chandra Modern India, which was a really good book. Just a second. But it builds in your mind a story about the modern Indian history. I followed that up with Themes in Indian History 3. which was again very useful, especially in the boxes part. Then Spectrum by Rajiv Ahir. For world history, I read India and the Contemporary World, class 9th and 10th. And then Vision IS also has put out good material on this. It is essentially a reiteration of the book Normal Lowe. I think that's the name. Sociology, I only did from general understanding and Hindu editorials. Then there is also, because my optional was sociology, so for me it was easier. But the answer that you write in GS1 sociology is very different from what you write for sociology. So I tried to understand the how to write answers for GS sociology part and use my understanding of the optional sociology to do the same. For world geography, geography was a pain point for me. It was really difficult for me to understand everything. Uh, Fundamentals of physical geography, human geography, natural hazards, disaster management, and from Go Long, I only focused on climate. This is GS1. It's really difficult to go through this list, uh, although it's quite short after this. GS1 has maximum number of books that you have to read. Excuse me. For polity, I only focus on Lakshmikant, then Vision IS current affairs material. For governance, so most of the things that I put from governance, it was partly from the second ARC committee report and things that I picked up from daily affairs and statistics compilation. For international relations, again, it's entirely current affairs based. So that's what you have to focus on, reading it from the newspaper and everything. For economy, agriculture and industry. So for economy, you need to have two understanding. One is of the generic economic theory, the general economic theory. This is present in the NCERT books. Then you need more specific things which would be related to Indian economy, say the different models of privatization and infrastructure. What are the problems in different sectors within infrastructure? For example, logistics sector. These you do not find in any specific book. For this, you have to go back to newspaper and go out read through new editorials, or some of these fact you can also find uh, in the Vision IS compilation. For science and environment, again, it's based on on a broader understanding. Uh, the Shankar I's book for environment, I read it end to end. I found that useful to a very large extent, but it's very information rich, and you cannot read and recall everything that you read there. Science, I used to skip, thinking that since I am from science background, everything will go easy for me. That was a wrong call. And later on, I started depending upon Vision IS current affairs material, science portion. For internal security, again, there is no single material, and you have to go back to what is going on around in the world. So, and for ethics, I read the book Lexicon and ARC's report summary. I did not go through the lengthy book. I only focused on the summary. Now, so I think that in brief covers what all I've thought would be relevant in deciding your book list. Now I want to make sure that you understand this. This book list is only to create a basic understanding of what is, so that's like a foundation that you build. On top of this, you do not actually put all of the things that you read in this books into your answer sheet. What you fill in answer sheet is what will get you marks. This is to create an understanding. On top of this, you add value. Those value added material, you do not that there is no single place to find. I'll give an example. In old Rajendra Nagar, when I went to buy some material, I saw there is a big hoarding on Delhi MCD asking something from Delhi government. It was not. It was a political board, and but it had mentioned a statistic, some 10,000 crore rupees that is pending on MCD by Delhi government. Now, if a question came on what are the problems with Delhi, even if the question is on say air pollution, I could use this statistic that MCD, which is responsible for say ensuring that there is no garbage lying around. Because of the funds crunch from the Delhi government, it is unable to fulfill its task efficiently. And I'll use the statistic of 10,000 crore rupees. This is where, so this, what my point of mentioning this was that you could, you can pick up anything from n number of places. Excuse me for a second. So you do not uh, So do not limit yourselves to I'll only pick up or quote facts from this. These are static books and the data for it changes every year. In my 2020 attempt, the statistics that I had quoted, it changed in 2022 entirely. So I had to go through all of it again just to refresh it. For example, our ranking in World Happiness Report would change. On World Hunger Index, it would change. The India's export and import ratio, tax to GDP ratio, the collection for GST, all of the statistics would change. What you need to understand is how these statistics fit into the broader framework. So in your mind, if you have to understand how a country overall performs fiscally, how to compare countries fiscally, say India and China, now you need to do that on various parameters. The book helps you to understand what parameters what are those parameters. The statistics keep changing, they keep changing every year because it's a very dynamic thing. So you only build concepts in the books, and statistics you pick up from everywhere you can. That was all on books. Next question I see is about 2023 paper. I was going to bring this up later, but since it has come up, I want to put my 2 cents. See, prelims is the most unpredictable exam for GS as well as and now for CSAT as well. In my first attempt, I got 84 without any preparation. In my next attempt, I studied very well for 6 months. I got 92, which was still below the cutoff. In my third attempt, which was in 2020, I think I got 100. The cutoff was 98, so I barely cleared it, or it was 92 or 94. So I cleared it by 4 or 5 marks. This was when I had prepared almost entirely on prelims for 1 year at a stretch, and I tried to do everything that I could think of just to clear prelims. In third attempt, I did not want to miss on prelims. In my 2022 attempt, I barely gave 2 months for prelims. I had hoped that all that I had prepared earlier it would come in handy. And this year, I got 113, which is very good compared to the cutoff, which went at around 84 or 88. So every year it's going to change, and it becomes very difficult to make it predictable. Now it might appear that my prelims was good because I got good marks, but the truth is that while I was coming out of the examination hall, I had no idea of how I had done. So in case you have written this 2023 Capri and you felt that the difficulty level of that paper was very high and you would not be able to clear it, don't be so sure yet. The cutoff might go very down because from what I have seen, the paper was extremely random. And the question, and it becomes, when it becomes like this, when you have put in a lot of hard work, it appears that you have no control over the result. My idea is that if you have done, to clear prelims, you need to have, like, if you have got 100 marks, you're going to go clear it well. There are at least 30 to 40 questions every year which are very basic. If you get all these questions right and if even if you leave all the other questions, you are still going to clear it. That being said, I had attempted 90 questions in my prelims. I know this is what every topper says, that you only need to clear it, but I understand how difficult it becomes, especially because you the questions come and in the examination hall it strikes you that you have never even thought about how to write this. Uh, on I'll just briefly talk about preparation style. So I used to study 8 hours, almost 8 hours every day. On some days, I would study only 3 or 4 hours, and I try to maintain this entirely during my preparation. But I had a large number of bad days, days when I either had a lot of office work, when I could not work. Now, on when I say 8 hours, I need to make it clear this 8 hour is for my 2022 preparation while I was preparing with an extraordinary leave. In extraordinary leave, you do not work, uh, you do not get paid, you can stay at home and prepare. So this 8 hours is for the duration from March till September till October, when I was in on EOL. In my 2020 attempt, I was only able to devote 4 to 5 hours per day because I was working simultaneously while preparing. On weekends, I would try to push it harder, but that was also very difficult because uh, weekend you're already tired and you want to go out and relax. This 8 hour statistic is for the duration between prelims and mains, especially if you're clear that your result is going to be good. In my 2020 attempt, I was not clear. So I wasted first 1 month thinking that will I clear it or will I not clear it? And eventually 1 month was over by the time I realized that, okay, I've made it and I need to seriously start preparing. But I have never studied beyond 11 hours. And when I say 11 hours, I used to keep a clock on my laptop running just to understand that how much time I have actually used. Anytime that I would even go to washroom, I would pause my timer and then restart it while after returning from the washroom. So when I say 8 hours, it means 8 hours solid. I followed this 50-minute, 10-minute system. So I would try to study at a stretch for 50 minutes. Then I would take a 10-hour break. This would start from 6:30 or 7 in the morning. I would get up at 6. I would try to be ready, have some uh, coffee, and try to relax, do something, listen to music, or try to meditate. Then from 6:30 or 7, latest is 7, I would start at 7. Then I would do 50 minutes and 10 minutes. In the afternoon, I would take a nap for 1 or 2 hours. Not 2 hours, but at least 1 hour. That would include lunch as well as taking a 20 or 30 minutes nap. Then in the evening, I would try to wrap up by 8. After 8, I would go for a walk. Rarely, mostly I would watch something on Netflix or watch a movie. Uh, if you're a big movie buff or you like to watch TV series, do not binge watch. It's a trap that you fall into. So I would try to only watch movies, especially during serious part of the preparation between prelims and mains. Because a movie you finish it in 1 hour and so maybe someday in 2 hours, and maybe on some days when you really want to finish the thing, it will only waste one extra hour. But a TV series, if it is even if it is just one season and 8 episodes, it sometimes take a really lot of time. So do not fall into that trap. During serious preparation, only watch movies. Uh, then my the question on why how to keep oneself motivated during preparation. See, I feel that motivation only comes from inside. I do not go to other motivational gurus to get their idea of how to keep oneself motivated. Motivation would come from inside if you keep your goal, what you want to be, right in here, in the middle of your head, between your eyes. And every time if you want to say put an image there, and it is actually a psychological technique of visualization. And there is a Instagram page, Huberman Lab. He has given this great idea that if you want to achieve something, try to put it into a single picture. For me, it was the drive was to prepare for IFS, to get into IFS, to become a diplomat, and diplomats get brown passports. So I would put the image of brown, me holding a brown passport in my hand, in my mind, and I would try to every time there it was something difficult. It felt like it's going to be really tough, and I don't want to pursue it. I would imagine myself holding that brown passport. That really drives you. If you want to become an IS or IPS, I'm sure you would be able to find a similar image. Uh, try to keep try to have that imagination for like 10 seconds, only for 10 seconds. Do not go daydreaming. So 10 seconds, maybe once or twice every day, all the days of the week, anytime that you're feeling low. But do understand that some days are going to be low, no matter how well prepared you are, no matter how great you want to do. Yeah. On all such days when it becomes when you really feel demotivated, take a break, take a step back. Not you don't need to run every day in order to clear UPSC. I was in my 2020 attempt. I felt demotivated a very large number of days. It was only in the I would say the last 2 months before mains that I really pushed myself, and even then I felt quite exhausted after January when the examinations uh, were over. Then the question on online and offline material. For me, it's easier to make online notes. I am tech savvy, not by how much time it took me to start YouTube Studio, but I consider myself tech savvy, and I prefer to take online notes. You have to leverage the scenario in a way that is beneficial on both the sides. So things that are really needed to be done offline, you have to do them offline. This would include answer writing, uh, because you cannot write answers on say iPad, even if you're doing it with a stylus. So you have to write it on pen with pen and paper. But for notes, which are for quick revision and which are easier to carry, online note making is a great thing. All my notes are online, including my optional prelims as well as GS. But I know people who make notes offline as well. And Surebhan, who's ranked 27 here, he has been collecting his notes, and he has a very thick notebook, roughly 6 years old, in which he has put in every dirt that he has found that could be useful for him. Then I so on the process, on the workflow of uh, how to make notes. Uh, First, you have to read a book. Say if I am preparing for my option sociology, you have to read the book of sociology just once, skim it through. Don't need to memorize anything. Just read it as well as you can. Then in the second reading, you will be able to hold things better. In the first attempt, do not even try to recall things or memorize things. Just read it through. Do not highlight. Do not do anything. Just read it like a storybook. In the second reading, you'll be able to collect things that are spread across the book. So a concept that is present in the last part of the book, you'll be able to relate it with the first part of the book if you're reading it well. Then go for previous year question papers. uh, Before making notes and before highlighting on the book, read through the previous year question papers. Try to understand how questions have been asked in that particular area. In the next part, when you make notes, uh, make it as brief as you can. Do not extend it too much, and then revise only from the notes. I did not, once I have made notes from a certain book, I would not go and touch it again. This really helped me increase the number of revisions and reduce the time that would be spent in each iteration. So I would prefer only to read from my notes. And in my 2022 attempt, I did not read any book. I read entirely from my notes. Uh, then specific to the different stages of the exam. For prelims, this was my fourth attempt in which I got good marks. So I would say what I thought I did well. This year, I focused only on revising the basics that I had created from my past 3 years, the notes that I had prepared over past 3 years. And this comes in handy because you have already some idea of what is in there. So you read only the basic things. For current affairs, I had left most of the questions that were directly from current affairs, like the contemporary international affairs question. And then I had also left those questions which mentioned like only one and only two, because they were really new and I did not want to lose any marks. So even then, I left only 10 questions. I attempted around 90, and I think that really helped this time. CSAT, I've always got good marks, partly because of my engineering background. I In my first attempt I got 160, which was really exceptional. It has been falling down since. Then in next attempt it was 150, then 140, and this time I got 130. I understand that CSAT level has gone really up, and even if you're from people who were really good in engineering and who are really good at mathematics from an engineering background, they have failed to clear CSAT. What I would suggest is do not fall into that trap, that sweet zone of comfort, that CSAT is a done deal. CSAT may, the most essential thing is which section to attempt first. And I think this is what got me good marks every time. I always attempted the mathematics questions first, especially I left those questions which I felt that are going to take a lot of time. Permutation combination questions like this. One question this time about 11 to the 11 to the power something. That question was really difficult if you don't know the trick for it. So I would have left that question. So my strategy for attempting the CSAT paper was try to uh, I do not go in 2 or 3 iterations. In my There will be only 2 iterations. In first iteration, I would go entirely all the way to the end. I would first attempt the logical questions, the mathematical questions, uh, leaving those which I found difficult. In the next, then I would attempt all uh, the comprehension questions, and then only if I have got any time left, then I would attempt the questions that were left in the first part. So it's essentially about smart choices of questions. Then for essay, my strategy, what I felt in my 2020 attempt, I got 134. This time I got really low marks, 93. Although I felt that I had actually done better in my essay paper. I followed the strategy of Vikram Garewal. You can find him on besankahalwa.com, I think. Yeah, that's his quirky thing. He got really good marks in his year on essay. You can try to follow his strategy. I tried to do that to a large extent. Maybe somehow, for some reason, it backfired. For GS 1, 2, 3, 4, I followed the process of intro, then body and conclusion. I thought I'll discuss one question so that it makes more sense on what I'm talking. I'll just pick up one question, say from. So this is from GS1 2020. Just a second. So this is one question from 2021 GS1. I'll just discuss it how I would attempt it. Uh, so say this is the very first question. Evaluate the nature of Bhakti literature and its contributions to Indian culture. Now, when I would see this question, the things that I would focus on, the first question is then evaluate. The key word here is evaluate. Evaluation means you have to have some parameters, and then on each of these parameters, you try to rate how that particular thing has performed. Then the next thing is the nature of the bhakti literature. So it's not about Sufi, it's only about bhakti literature, and then the nature of the bhakti literature. So you have to first part, you have to evaluate the nature of the Bhakti literature and its contribution to the Indian culture. So obviously there are two parts. Uh, in the first part, I would start first with Bhakti literature. You do not start with Bhakti movement here, because when you have a concept, the question will generally be very limited. In your introduction, you would try to expand it to a bigger circle. If you expand the circle too large, then it seems that you're not trying to answer to the point. But if you keep your introduction too shallow, that also is problematic, because it reduces that we would do in the conclusion part, and it also limits what you'll actually put it in the body. So I would start with bhakti, the bhakti literature, the context in which bhakti literature arose, what came before it, and and how it impacted Indian culture. So I would start with something like this: that Indian culture is reflected greatly in its literature, uh, and Bhakti movement impact had a huge impact on this particular aspect. Then I would try to answer the first part, which is evaluate the nature of the Bhakti literature. Now, what are the different parameters on which you assess the quality of literature, the nature of literature? First will be what is the language in which it has been written. Bhakti literature did it mostly for on the basis of local languages. So I would give examples of which local languages did it give a strong impetus to. Then you focus on what was the content, uh, whether it was in prose style or in poetry style. So it was a mix of both, but poetry dominated to a large extent. New styles also came up, like Doha, that came up for Kabirji. Then the next parameter would be so who was it directed towards? Literature usually can be haute couture sort of thing, which is intended towards, say, royalty or aristocracy. But Bhakti literature was rooted more towards in the local traditions, towards the local people. Then you would create, and so on. You would try to create 4 or 5 different parameters on which you assess the nature, and for each you give a heading, that I'm trying to say it for language, then orientation, then say style, which will be prose or poetry, then whether they were secular in nature or religious in nature. And Bhakti literature also, it's since it is Bhakti movement, so it is mostly spiritual. But when it discusses about Nirgun Brahma, it also goes into philosophical direction. So you have to mention this to enrich the quality. For each heading, for each this criteria, I would give my view on this, and then I would try to give an example. Then next criteria, its particular my assessment of it, and then example, and so on. This would be covered under a single heading, nature of the Bhakti literature. Then next will be contribution of Bhakti literature to Indian culture. Now, here also I would try to define what are the different uh, bases on which the literature contributes to culture. First will be, say, Bhakti literature. So what are the different aspects of Indian culture? One will be its music, and Bhakti literature has actually been translated into a lot of musical things like Geet Govinda by Jaydev, that is popularly used in its various dance styles. So I would give in examples. I would put in, so this dance style is influenced by Jaydev's Geet Govinda. Then I would write musical style, and so say I would give the example of Mahapurush Shankar Dev, his impact. Then on dramatics, again maybe Shankar Dev, or pick up some other how different themes of Indian drama that has been picked up from here, and says also on clothing and its festival. So different aspects of Indian culture. What it does it so in consulting, from which I where I was born and brought up, in consulting there is a principle of mutually exclusive and comprehensive and completely exhaustive. So all of these different criteria, they together sum up Indian culture, and then you have given your assessment on all of these. With in the conclusion, I would try to relate it to the either I would try to relate it to the bigger picture if I have not done it in the introduction, or I would try to limit it to the very more of a reiteration of the thing. So I would write something about how it continues. The influence of Bhakti literature is even seen in the post-colonial and post-independent Indian culture, where the Renaissance, uh, as well as the Renaissance movement, Indian Renaissance movement, both of which they trace their uh, lineage from Bhakti literature. This was just one example of how I tried to do it. So this is what I tried to do for GS 1, 2, and 3. 3 is very dynamic. People are getting low marks every year. I got 73 in my 2020 attempt. This year I have been able to improve it by 20 marks, which was really something that really helped me push. So in GS3, because it is mostly dynamic, so I would suggest that you try to include as much as dynamic statistics in your answers and keywords, the relevant keywords. Now, if say a question is about uh, use of drone technology. Now, in drone technologies, drone swarms are being spoken about. So you need to put in drone swarms. Otherwise, if you are not putting in keywords, if you're not putting in statistics, if you're not making diagrams, then it seems that you have not put in something extra for which you should get extra marks. And every single extra mark counts. In GS4, I try to do something. I try to put in as many quotes as possible. Even in straightforward questions, I try to put in quotes. Uh, I got decent marks, but people have got better marks than me in GS4. I know people who have got as high as 140. So in GS4, I always started with the first set of questions, and case studies I kept only last 90 minutes. So the breakage of that answer writing was uh, I would try to finish in 7 minutes the 10 marker. In 20 minutes, I would try to cover for 20 marker, I would try to cover in 9 minutes. And this is how I used to break up. I was able to finish all my papers in all, except GS1, I missed two questions. And in GS2 also, I missed one question. Apart from this, I was able to finish everything. And that's what you should try to focus on. Somebody's asking me on this year prelims. I already spoke about it. And the video will be uploaded. You can scroll back and uh, get an idea of how it was. About optional, now optional is very important because a lot of your marks come from optional. This year, what I felt is those people who have done actually got good marks and good ranks. They were able to do it because they got good marks in optional. In my 2020 attempt, I only got 236, which was very poor, even by that year's standards. When somebody got above 300, this year I've got pretty decent 279. But again, it's not something to be very proud of. People have got 299, which I think is the highest marks this year. Now, why I chose sociology? Because I initially thought I'll start with maths, but math took a lot of time and I was working, so I could not devote enough time, and I felt I would not be able to do justice, even though maths is a very scoring option, especially if you do not have commitments towards home or towards work. Next thought was about philosophy, but philosophy I felt that was going too vague. Also, that year, somebody among top five had sociology. So I felt that maybe sociology will be something interesting to read. I just browsed it and I found that the questions are quite commonsensical. So I started preparing for it. Then I realized that uh, this is also a problem because you do not write commonsensical answers to these commonsensical questions in sociology paper. You have to do it from a sociological perspective. Sociological perspective is uh, how a sociologist would write a research paper. And that usually means that you would try to use existing literature and try to substantiate your point with something. You do not actually conduct field studies, but more like a research study. Then okay, and somebody has so and about also somebody has asked me about NCRT. Old NCERTs I felt were better, but they were also very lengthy. New NCERTs, especially for history and geography, are very good. Uh, Geography are, in fact, for geography, NCERT is adequate. You don't need to study anything else. For history, you might still need to uh, go a little beyond, in fact, a lot of beyond, given the unpredictability in prelims. But NCERTs in general, old NCERTs are better. Uh, Interview, I got good marks in my 2020 attempt. Then in this attempt, I have got good marks, but quite below expectations. uh, in interview preparation, maybe you don't need to worry about interview preparation as of now, because it comes quite later in the stage, and interview is very subjective. You're not really able to control how your interview is going to go. If I had gone for the same day to a different panel, I would have got different marks. If I would have gotten to the same panel, say from between the morning and afternoon slot, I would have got different marks. So it is very subjective, and you cannot really control anything there. For interview, what I felt was, uh, my this is a mantra by my wife Prachi, and she said that if you don't know the answer, smile, and if you know the answer, then all the more reason to smile. So try to smile as much as you can, because that shows that you're not really scared, and that's something that would be very desirable in a civil servant, because you're going to face very difficult and unpredictable scenarios throughout your career. And if that's really scares you, then that would be a problem. So they're looking for somebody who's confident and who knows what he's going to talk about. That being said, do not be under the misconception that it's only a test of personality. It's equally a test of knowledge. And if you're not really well versed in what you are working or say what is going on around in the world, you'll not really also be confident. So both of them walk hand in hand. I think I've covered almost everything. Yes. I think I've covered everything that I wanted to talk about. If there are any questions for the people who are online right now, I can I can answer those questions. I think I've covered mostly. I see one question about कहाँ पढ़ते थे, घर पे या लाइब्रेरी में. uh, I didn't मैं कभी लाइब्रेरी नहीं गया. मेरे को ओल्ड राजेंद्र नगर का नक्शा भी नहीं है मेरे पास. मैंने अपनी सारी पढ़ाई अपने रूम पे और अपने स्टडी टेबल पे ही की है. ORN में जब गया भी था, तो वो क्वेश्चन पेपर्स के प्रिंट आउट निकलवाने के लिए, अपने नोट्स के प्रिंट आउट निकलवाने के लिए, या मैगजीन्स खरीदने के लिए, या फिर आंसर राइटिंग करने के लिए. तो मैं लाइब्रेरी नहीं गया. हिंदी मीडियम के बारे में, अभी मैं जहाँ पे हूँ, IRS कस्टम्स के 74th बैच में, यहाँ पे 4 लोग हैं जो हिंदी मीडियम से हैं और उन्होंने काफ़ी अच्छा परफॉर्म किया. हिंदी मीडियम के साथ एक दिक्कत यह है कि आपके पास मटेरियल बहुत अच्छा नहीं जमा हो पाता है. जैसे अगर आपको नए वर्ड्स, कीवर्ड्स यूज करने हो, ड्रोन स्वॉर्म का एक एग्जांपल दिया मैंने, बट जेनेरिक टर्म्स भी, जैसे कैपिटल टू रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर रेशियो, तो ये सारे टर्म्स, अब कैपेक्स रेशियोज को हम शॉर्ट में कर सकते हैं, बट हिंदी में आपको पूरा का पूरा लिखना पड़ेगा, तो इससे टाइम भी ज्यादा वेस्ट होता है. लेकिन इसका ये मतलब मत समझिए कि हिंदी से लोगों का सिलेक्शन नहीं होता है. इस बार ही आई थिंक रैंक 19 थे जो UPSC CSE 2021 में, जिन्होंने रैंक 19 प्राप्त की थी हिंदी मीडियम के थ्रू. और भी यहाँ पे लोग हैं जिन्होंने किया है. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि किया नहीं जा सकता है. इट इज जस्ट कि आपको बाकी जो इंग्लिश मीडियम वाले एस्पिरेंट्स हैं उनसे थोड़ी ज्यादा मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी. हाउ टू अटेम्प्ट प्रीलिम्स. प्रीलिम्स के पेपर में मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि प्रीलिम्स में जितने क्वेश्चंस होते हैं और टाइम आपके पास जितना होता है, आपके पास इतना टाइम नहीं होगा कि आप दोबारा दो दो या तीन राउंड में प्रीलिम्स कर सकें. वैसे लोग करते हैं. मेरी कोशिश होती है कि मैं पहले एक बार जो शुरू करना करूँ क्वेश्चन 1 से, वो मैं क्वेश्चन 100 तक जाऊं, और उसमें से 70 क्वेश्चंस एटलीस्ट कर लूँ, और जो बाकी 30 क्वेश्चंस हैं फिर उनको फेजेस में करना पड़े. तो ये इसलिए क्योंकि एक बार आपने प्रीलिम्स करना, आपने क्वेश्चन पेपर शुरू किया, एक क्वेश्चन किया आपने उस पे 2 मिनट दिमाग लगाया, फिर आपको रियलाइज हुआ कि अरे ये मैं अभी नहीं कर पाऊंगा। अब आप दोबारा जब उस क्वेश्चन पे आएंगे तो आपको फिर वो दोबारा 2 मिनट वो लगाने पड़ेंगे शुरू वाले, और इस तरीके से जो 2 मिनट में होना चाहिए एक्चुअली वो 4 मिनट लग जाते हैं, और टाइम एसेंस का होता है। अक्सर ऐसा हो जाता है लोगों का कि दे आर नॉट एबल टू फिनिश द पेपर ऑन टाइम, व्हिच इज at least you need to do that. Otherwise, some question that you would otherwise have been able to attempt, you would miss purely because you did not reach to the end. So time management is important there. So I tried to finish 70 questions in my first go. 30 questions I would leave, and if I would try to, in my second round, I would try to sort it down only to 20. Any random unpredictable question, I would uh, I would attempt a question if I would be able to eliminate at least one option. So 3:1 ka ratio. That is also the ratio in which UPSC awards or deducts marks. So the potential expected gain from this is zero. Uh, but I would expect that you would do more rights than wrong, and in that case, you will be able to get your marks back. So I would only attempt a question if I know that at least three options I'm very sure. The new type of questions, only one, only two, I did not attempt any of them, and I think that it's a trap because you're not really sure. Even when it was A and B, B and C, A B D, those even they were more easy to attempt. Before, so somebody asked about revision. Before revision, before my prelims, I was able to finish one good reading of my own notes of past 3 years. I did a second partial reading for my notes, but I was not able to finish it. I was really feeling that I was ill prepared for this exam. But then it turned out well. Uh, Again, for the next one also, I felt that even for this last, uh, for, for mains, I felt that I was ill prepared. And this feeling will never go away. You'll always feel that you could have done this more or that more. But have faith that everybody else feels the same way, that they are also unable to finish everything that they had started. And coaching, I've already mentioned. Any tips to cope up with studies while working in Big Four? Okay, it's a good question because I have some experience in this. While I was working at Deloitte, I felt that I will not be able to. At Deloitte, it also depends upon within Big Four which vertical you're working in. For my answer will be different because I was working in the data science department. Say if somebody who's in development, somebody who's in services, somebody who's in HR, all the answers will vary across this rather than across companies. So a data scientist more or less works the same, and the time devoted is also same, but in some places the workload is usually very high. Now, I'd written a more detailed blog about this on parasharharsh.in. What all I did. The first thing is obviously if you can leave the job and want to prepare, it's a big gamble. But if you really are uh, want to do it, it's a good thing. In some big four companies, even in maybe smaller companies, you have that option of uh, work work time balancing. You would only your workload can be reduced to 60%, and so will your pay be. And that is actually that might be helpful. In the next one, there are options for sabbatical in some places. You can also opt for sabbaticals if it is available to you at your working level. I asked for a sabbatical, but I was not given one on the pretext that I have not fulfilled the 7 years work there. Uh, have this idea and have this faith that maybe even if you're unable to, if you're taking a break for a year, that's fine. But if you take a break for 4 or 5 years, that becomes problem when you're looking for a different job. A big role is also played by your partner. If you are living with your spouse or with your girlfriend or boyfriend, if they are working, and they're ready to support you through thick and thin, that really becomes handy. In my particular case, Prachi did everything at home. All I had to do was study. She earned the money. She took care of the household. She took care of my emotional distresses. So that, and this is for the EOL when I was not working. Even when I was working, the same story continued. So I only had to focus on my work, office work, and my preparation. So if you have an understanding partner, that comes in handy. A lot of people have asked me personally on messages about how to manage. How they have hopes that they'll not be able. They are afraid that they might not be able to perform because they're married and have kids. But then again, it to a large extent it comes to your personal understanding. We have a officer trainee here at Faridabad. She has a 2-year-old kid whom she has left with her husband, and the husband has been taking care of the kid for a long time. So it mostly depends upon how understanding your spouse is, and they become they have a huge role to play in your success or your failure. If you're living alone and if you don't have any responsibilities, that's a great boon. Try to make use of it as good as you can, because now most of you might be at a stage where your life processes the next stages. Somebody might be pressurizing you to get a job or to get married, or you might have aspirations to travel around. All of these are being hampered. So try to do not, if you can, try to balance your preparation with phases, between phases. So after say interview, or say after means, you can go out for a small trip. If people are pressurizing for you to get married, try to put it off as far as you can. But if you like somebody and if you think that they'll be a positive addition to your preparation journey, then do that as well, because that I think for me it was really good. At last, UPSC time had asked me to put in the final parting words, the final tip of advice. Uh, I'll give two advice. First is UPSC it takes a huge toll on your mental happiness. It takes a huge toll on your personal life, and even on on people around you. Uh, to keep your mental strength up, it's not always easy, but when you are unable to do so, do not feel, do not be afraid to say seek out, look at struggles of lives of different people. I was reading Wings of Fire by President Kalam, and saw how tumultuous his own journey was. So when you read about these things, people who have actually gone through things and not random motivational videos on Instagram or YouTube, when you read about these, that really encourages you that if some people have done it, why not you? That I used to watch these struggle videos. Maybe that might be beneficial for you too. Second advice I would like to give is, uh, do not come in with the mindset that you're going to clear it in 1 year. Usually it takes a really long time to clear it. For some people who started with the idea that it will be just 1 year, for them it has gone to 6 years. For people from category, it has gone out to 9-10 years, which is a like 1/6 of your entire life duration. So start with the mindset that, start with the hope that you might be able to clear it 2 years. But when you're making notes, when you're reading books, try do it with a mindset that you need to have a system in place where you can use the same information even after 5 years of preparation. And finally, don't put a hold on your life. If you're among the lucky ones who come out on the better side of this war, then well, congratulations to you. But a large portion, for 10 lakh people, only 1,000 are going to get in. And even among them, only a very few will get the service and cadre of their desire. For everybody, for most other people, it will be a a story of shattered dreams. If that is the case, you'll really regret if you had if you had let something that was very essential for you to let go. Say if you want to get married to somebody and it's sure that they'll not be here by your next attempt, then don't feel afraid that sacrificing that love for this is going to hamper your journey. And same goes for, say, if your mother is undergoing an operation, or your sister is about to get married, or any of these personal exigencies which I'm sure everybody will have in their lives. Do not try to put an end. Things can go parallelly. Maybe understanding people around you would be helpful, but try to give it your best. With that, uh, I think it's time to wrap up this session. Uh, I hope that my 2 cents on this journey. I'm not an expert on UPSC. I've given only 4 attempts, and that too only 3 serious attempts. I've cleared it. A lot of it is was in part of the well wishes of friends and family, the hard work of my wife, God's grace. But the truth is, I would say 40% of it was randomness, the randomness in the nature. So maybe that randomness will push you on the right side of things. Maybe it will push you on the wrong side of things. Keep going on. Best of luck. I hope that all of this it brings some meaning to it. It adds some value to your preparation journey. Thank you so much.